With Duskborn just around the corner, there is an additional 4 more commander decks that they do in every single set. So in this one, we will be going over the commander of each one of the decks because they've been released, and pretty much kind of guessing what the deck could potentially do or how amazing and possible it could potentially be. So how good are these commanders? Let's go through each one and find out. But before I go any further, a word from our sponsor, which again is me. I have a small little Etsy shop with a cool t-shirts and hoodies that are funny and somewhat related to Magic the Gathering, but don't be telling them that, they'll be like naughty, where they're really soft and really comfortable, come in many different sizes and colors, and pretty much all the money goes to putting back in this channel. So if you haven't noticed, I've got lighting now, better lighting, so hopefully this helps in the content of the video, but all the support is by you guys. So if you want something cool, something soft and something hilarious while also supporting this channel, please go to my Etsy, and if you see something cool, go buy it. So let's start off with the first commander, and that commander being
Winter, Cynical Opportunist, 2 generic mana-owned black mana-owned green mana. Legendary creature, Human Warlock, Death Touch. Whenever Winter attacks, mill 3 cards. Delirium, at the beginning of your end step, you may exile any number of cards from your graveyard with 4 or more card types among them. If you do, put a permanent card from among them onto the battlefield with a finality counter on it. 2/5.
So I love that all of these commanders so far, if you don't know, have a alt art straight off the back. You literally buy the deck and you get this version of it. I think, could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that this is the art you get. A 2/5 for 4 mana with Death Touch is a really good blocker, especially early game. There's ways you can ramp with green and black to be able to get your commander out very early and have a really good blocker for quite a few annoying threats. This commander, in my personal opinion, is going to be a very creature heavy deck. The thing I like about it is that it works with itself. There's a lot of commanders out there and a lot of cards that's like, can bring stuff from your graveyard, but you need other cards to be able to put the stuff into your graveyard, which is fine. But as a commander, I like that this also mills and then lets you bring stuff back. I think this is going to be going more of a ETB effect more than a token deck. I think it would be really good if you had a load of cards that when they die, you make tokens of it. But I think the way they're going to be doing it, mainly because of the finality counter of it, is that whatever you play has a single really good ETB effect. Mainly because, yeah, you could have something like Massacre Worm. You play Massacre Worm, it dies, you get 2 tokens. You then play it again, it dies, makes 2 tokens. But then that's it. Where you could be playing other creatures that when it enters, it like destroys a permanent or something, and you get to do that twice, and then you don't need to really worry about it again. So I think when it comes to this, it's going to be a very creature heavy deck, but also I think it'll be very good for a artifact deck, mainly because there's a lot of artifact creatures that are really good. I really do hope they have some ways to get rid of finality counters, but I think because the commander has a finality counter on it, it depends on the sub commander of the deck, which has not been released. Now that that's done, the next commander is
Valgaveth, Harrower of Souls, 2 generic mana-owned black mana-owned red mana. Legendary creature, Elder Demon Flying Ward, pay 2 life. Whenever an opponent loses life for the first time during each of their turns, put a +1/+1 counter on Valgaveth, Harrower of Souls, and draw a card. 4/4.
4 mana for a 4/4 with flying is quite good, especially in these colors. They can be very dangerous just straight off the bat. Ward is a really good ability, but it also depends on what the ward is. People losing 2 life to target it makes it quite of a threat, especially if you play it straight down and someone wants to like murder it, you have to pay 2 life as well. Also, one of my favorite things about this is that it buffs itself, not by much, but it still is one of those things that it can keep growing and be a huge dangerous threat. I think this is mainly going to be maybe sorceries and instants or enchantments to buff this up, giving it extra 1/1s or be able to do stuff with the 1/1s, especially a lot of life loss as well, because it depends on like the amount of times they lose life. So I think there's going to be a lot of not large amounts of damage, just lots of, like, whenever someone draws a card they might lose a life or two. To be able to buff this up, I think that's why it's going to be, that's why it's 1+1+1, not like 2 or 3, because I think it's going to be one of those things. Like, I do think Soldier straight off the bat, the newest one, is going to be broken in this, because literally they draw, lose 2 life, 1/1 counter, easy, done. One thing I would love to see with this, and it's very stupid, but whenever I see Red Pip and a big powerful commander, I always think this, is attacking with the commander, doing 21 commander damage, flinging it, flying over your enemy and getting rid of them, and then flinging it at someone else. I just find fling such a funny card. Then thirdly, the commander is
Zimone, Mystery Unraveler 2 generic Manaeon green Manaeon blue mana. Legendary creature, human wizard landfall. Whenever a land you control enters, manifest dread if this is the first time this ability has resolved this turn. Otherwise, you may turn a permanent you control face up. To manifest dread, look at the top 2 cards of your library. Put one onto the battlefield face down as a 2/2 creature and the other into your graveyard. Turn it face up anytime for its mana cost if it's a creature card, 3/3.
4 mana for a 3/3 is a bit This is what I call an enchantment commander. It's literally just there to buff up your team. It's pretty much an enchantment, but you can't really have an enchantment as your commander, so that's why it's a creature. This has a landfall ability, and landfall, especially in Simic, is broken. Simic, in my personal opinion, and a lot of people's opinions, is the most broken dual color out of them all. A landfall deck just makes it more broken. Also, I'm pretty sure Manifest Dread, and I could be wrong here, is a new ability when it comes to Magic Gathering, so this is a great way to show off a brand new ability. Plus, I say there's going to be cards in the set that really look like they should be in the deck, but they didn't want to make the deck too powerful, so they have it that you can put it in by buying more packs, which is a great business idea. But also, I'm just like, some cards I think belong just straight in the deck. And then finally, the one I was most excited for is
a Minotaur, Veil Piercer 1 generic Manaeon white Manaeon blue Manaeon black mana. Legendary creature, human wizard at the beginning of your upkeep, Surveil 2. Look at the top 2 cards of your library, then put any number of them into your graveyard and the rest on top of your library in any order. Each enchantment card in your hand has Miracle. Its miracle cost is equal to its mana cost reduced by 4 generic mana. You may cast a card for its miracle cost when you draw it if it's the first card you drew this turn, 2/4.
This Planeswalker lost their spark. There is a lot of Planeswalkers that lost their spark, and we're slowly getting introduced with which ones that have and which ones that haven't. As of recording this, there is currently 3 Planeswalkers in the set, or were Planeswalkers. 2 of them have lost their spark. If you know who they are, please comment down below and let me know your thoughts of them losing their spark. But 4 mana for a 2/4 is okay, it's a bit meh, but again, this seems to be an enchantment commander. This is just one of those commanders that sit there and just help your deck go that extra mile. Starting your turn with Surveil 2 is very good, mainly because if you want to put stuff in your graveyard, you can get rid of the annoying cards or cards you can bring back later, or the cards that you want to draw, you're able to then put on top and be able to draw the card you need for that turn. Plus, Miracle is back, and Miracle is one of those really weird and broken abilities if you have a deck that pretty much has like a scroll rack in it or something like a scroll rack. I think this could go in many directions, and this is the one out of all of them I cannot figure out where to fully go. It's rather going to be like enchantments where you're going to get like big powerful enchantments that do ridiculous things like omniscience, or you're going to get enchantment creatures, so you're able to play at least 1 creature for 4 less mana each turn. So I'm not really sure which way they're going to go, or they could do a small mixture of both. I do think the sorceries in it and some of the creatures are going to be bringing stuff back, mainly because of the Surveil 2, but because this is a horror theme, it seems to be a lot of bringing stuff back from the dead, or your nightmares coming back and stuff like that, which I do think is good for a set like this. Now, when it comes to all 4 of them as a whole, I do think so far, just based on the commander, there is a lot of things they can do. They have separated it out into multiple different decks. I like when they do that, with all of them having somewhat good to somewhat unique abilities and different ways you can play them, which again is a really good idea. When it comes to this, personally, none of them have really caught my eye. There's not one that I really want to make a deck on. However, I can see other people and players that I've known and seen online do very well with these decks. A lot of people get excited for them. The main deck I'm going to be keeping my eye out on is the Anamatu deck, mainly because it has a really weird playstyle that I'm more excited for. Now, don't you worry, when each deck comes out, I will be making a video on each of them. If any of these are your favorite, let me know in the comments down below and how you would play them. If there are any cards that are going to be broken with any of these commanders, let me know. I would also like to hear your thoughts and opinions and all that stuff down in the comments down below. When it comes to these commander decks, I do love seeing them and going through the entire deck, and I have done that before with the previous Bloomburrow decks. Here, I have a playlist of other Magic the Gathering videos here and a subscribe button here, and I will see you all in the next Duskmoor video.